Everybody. Today I am going to humbly try to recreate Victor Davila's wonderful lecture on Illustrator. I'm going to show you the techniques that he used, and you guys can apply this to anything that you wish. Um, and what we're going to do here is just basically learn about the basics of illustration in Illustrator and workflow in Illustrator. So, again, Victor, wonderful job. I cannot draw as good as him. He is amazing, true talent, and I'm going to humbly again try to recreate some of his artwork here with all due respect to him. So enough butt kissing aside, let's get started. What I've done is created a new file in Illustrator, and that new file, that's actually called an artboard, and that artboard is where we're going to be producing some things. Now, some of the areas that we're going to need to start with are our Pathfinder. We're going to need to eventually look at our color, our swatches, and our transparency tabs, and then also our brushes. So after using these, you're going to probably want to load them up first and or find where they're at. There's the brushes, for instance, and here's our layers and whatnot, and our color and swatches over here. Those are going to be easy to find. Alright, so let's get started. What I've done is I'm going to just copy and paste a drawing of Victor's into Illustrator. I got this off of his webpage. I'm going to, again, try to recreate this a little bit. The great thing about Victor's artwork is his brilliant line quality, the thick and thin line. That makes a huge difference. Line, obviously, is a principle and element of design, and it's something we always want to think about when we work with digital art as well, to kind of keep it back to the traditional side, make it look a little more traditional. Now, Victor uses all these fancy pens, and the trick is, how do we get those line marks in Illustrator? So that's what we're going to do today. So one of the first things I'm going to do is actually lock this layer, and I think he hit Command 2. That's fine. I just lock it so I can't move it. It's just kind of back there. The next thing we're going to do is start to make our brush. So I'm going to get some ellipse tools. Now, for our ellipse tools, I want to make sure they're true black eventually. So I'm going to double click on this, if I can do it. And I am using a Wacom tablet. So if you guys have one, you can get really great deals on them these days. Digital tablets. You can go to Best Buy, I think, as of now, and this is 2012, end of 2012 here. You can get one for about $84 for the Bamboo Pen tablet. I'm going to double click, and I'm going to make sure my CMYK is set to 25, 25, 25, and 100. And that's what he suggested for true black. Now, once you have that set, what you can do is actually go to your swatches menu and go to create new swatch, and for instance, call this true black. And this way, you don't always have to like move your sliders or enter numbers. When you hit OK, you'll get a little panel here that says true black. That's different black than that for printing purposes. And you can see there's already one already made right here that is a little different black, that's 0, 0, 0, 100, and you can see here true black would be the 25%. Alright, now that I have that, I do not put a stroke on it, I only use a fill, and I'm going to go to my ellipse tool, there it is, okay, and I'm going to hold shift and draw a circle. Okay, there it is. Alright, at this point I'm going to get my black arrow, which is V as in Victor, on your keyboard, and I'm going to click in the center and hold down the Alt or Option key and pull downward. And you can see I have two little arrows now. And it's like a Venn diagram. I'm going to look just in between. And I want to just connect them. Once I've connected them, what I can do is I'm going to highlight them both. I'm going to just make sure I highlight those. I'm going to go to my Pathfinder and I'm going to use Divide. This one right here, Pathfinder again is under Window, Pathfinder. And I'm going to go and highlight them first, again with the black arrow, and hit divide. Okay, once I have that, I'm going to click inside of them with the white arrow, or A on my keyboard. And the trick with this is click delete. You got to get the feel to it. So click delete. And then you'll be left with this area. No stroke, only a fill right here. We're ready to make a brush. Now guys, I'll be honest with you, sometimes this method does not work. I can't figure out why it doesn't work, but it just won't. So we're hoping for the best right now. I'm going to get my brushes, And I'm going to grab this and drag it all the way over into the brushes menu and expand the menu. Use this little area down here to expand it. I'm going to drop it in. I'm going to create an art brush. So hit OK on the art brush. Leave everything default, and you'll get your brush. Now, obviously I had that selected, but if I get my brush tool, look at that. Now I have a nice stroke brush. You don't need this anymore. Highlight it, hit delete, throw it away. Alright, go back to your brush tool. Now we have some options. Obviously, when we're drawing with these brushes, we get some really nice line quality. Okay, that's really great. It's just essentially a good idea to, play with some of these options. So let me show you these options. Right now, I just made pretty much a bunch of different strokes. This one, for instance, I can change the stroke width. There you go, and we can get a nicer stroke there. We can also change the width profile, and what that will do is have it like taper different ways, and you can have a lot of different options. So you can relatively take the same stroke and give it a different profile. And I'm doing my best to avoid all different strokes jokes right now. You can see that one turned really nicely there. I can make him larger if I wanted to, and then again deal with the stroke profile. And really get some nice line quality. So Victor, I don't remember him talking too much about stroke profiles. Either way, they're great. Alright, so I'm going to hit delete there, and now I'm going to start drawing. So I'm done with the brushes menu. I'm going to open up the layers panel here, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to do my best job to recreate what Victor has here. Again, he is a master at this, so I'm humbly doing this here. I'm making sure that I have my stroke color. It probably would be good to switch to your swatches real quick. Make sure you're selecting true black there. And I'm actually going to cancel that out so I know what I got. And start drawing off the screen. There we go. And here I go. Now 2 points is going to be too big, so I'm going to start with 0.75. And let's see what we get first before we go too far. So I'm going to just start going over the sketch. Now you guys, again, would scan these in. And you could scan these in at 300 dpi. If you're using Live Trace, what Victor said was, he said, and there's this Abe Lincoln beard, he said probably bring it up the DPI as much as possible if you're live tracing. I'm just tracing on top of this. I'm not going to really worry about these too much yet. Again, at any point, I'll hit V on my keyboard to select my tool. I can select these and I can lower them to, again, my liking, and I can change those up later. The trick is here, guys, you want them to eventually all touch one another. So I'm going to get my brush again, and let's see what we can do with this hair. Get my tablet here. And this is a great way, if you're working in a group, to do something. Somebody can draw all of the pictures, and you can just worry, somebody else can worry about outlining them. Then the other person can worry about coloring them. And so everyone gets their hand into the mix, so to speak. And I'm going to try to connect those the best I can. That looks pretty good. And what else? Let's give him his eyes here. We'll mess with those in a bit, so no worries. Give him his nose. Again, we'll mess with that. I'm actually going to do that right now. Get my selection tool, and those don't need to be that big. So I'm going to go ahead and take those down a little bit. Same with the nose. Take the stroke down. And you can see it fits a lot better. Now that I'm dealing in the mouth here, I'm going to actually zoom in a little bit so I can see, go back to my brush tool, and really get a nice kind of connection there. And again, some of these we're going to have to change up. I mean, this is not going to be perfect the first time. You got to realize, guys, Victor has done this quite a bit. So when we're in here, let's see if I can get lower here. I'm going to do 0.15. Let's see. Yeah, that will lower it. Let me even go lower to 0.10. That's important. That's something he didn't do. You guys can go lower than the suggested number. You just have to go in there and type it. Let's do 10. There we go. And now you want to make sure all your points are touching. Now I'm not going to deal with this eyebrow too much yet. But if your points are touching, you're pretty much in the clear. Once you know your points are touching, if they're not, for instance, this mouth isn't, you guys see the tiny little gap there? Hit A on your keyboard, grab that point, and either just move it up or down into one another. And that's really the way to go there. You just click once on it, and there you go. Now I can move it. And I'm going to do that for all of these. We can mess with our Bezier handles, get a nice curve going on there. Vice versa here. Play with this profile maybe a little bit. So go back to my brush and actually my selection tool here. And we can do maybe a sharp profile on these. That looks really cool. Alright, the lip looks a little big. I'm going to do the same thing. Same down here. We'll try all sorts of them. As long as they're touching, though, you should be good. And I then hit it with the profiles. And Victor does this a little differently than me, but I mean, mainly because he's really good at getting the strokes that he needs like right away, and I'm not. I need, I need a little more help. So I utilize these pre-built ones here. And you can see you can make your own profiles and stuff like that, but I just dig it this way. All right. Let's see what we got. Now that we have all of this, the best thing to do is kind of all the paths that you have here. I'm going to turn off the background layer and kind of look at this. See what I need to do here. Use spacebar to kind of use my hand here, move it around. Still not done yet. I want to play with this profile. See what we can get here. Sometimes they look good, guys. Sometimes you got to do a little more work. All right, so that looks all right. You know what I'm missing is I'm missing some of those hairlines in there. So let me go back to uniform here. And need to go smaller than that, don't I? There we go. Looks good, and I got a little weirdness going on right down here. Ignore that. Let's do. How would I get rid of that? That's a weird little kind of a odd anchor point there. Maybe not going to be able to get rid of that as easy as I'd like. I'm going to move this around and see. Yeah, you can see that's just where my brush is kind of attached to one another, and that's the profile. So I'll just chalk it up to adding character to it. And, this is just still a little too big for me. There we go. That looks a lot nicer. All right, I make sure everything's connected. It looks to be. We'll find out when we live trace it. Now that we have that, and we have our certain areas here. Sorry, guys, I'm nitpicking as usual. There we go. What I'm going to do is highlight everything. When I have it all highlighted, I'm going to go to Object, Expand Appearance. Now this will turn the strokes into fills. So Expand Appearance. There we go. You can see now they're all like basically shapes, like I drew them out with the Shape tool. And what I can do now is go to Live Paint. So I can come down here, and my Live Paint bucket is actually K on your keyboard. Or right, it's under the Shape Builder tool right there. And this is where I kind of use my trick. I go over to my swatches palette, and in this little hidden drop-down menu, let me show you right there, I go down to Swatch Library, and they have a bunch of cool stuff. They have earth tones, they have color book pages, they have skin tones. So I load the skin tones. I get these folders. So let me do that. I'll just actually do it for you because I know we'll get a lot of skin tones. And what will happen basically with that is it will bring it up over here. It'll just bring up a new menu. And I select like an area right here. All right, so whatever skin tone you want, I select a whole folder. And now if I use my arrow keys, you see how it's going above my little arrow, it's going through the skin tones? It just basically goes through those tones. It's a really awesome technique. I really enjoy it. And then what I can do is start clicking. So let's give him that, and let's give him, I don't know what color hair we want. Let's do that's a little too much red for me. Sometimes I hover over him to see what the color is. That's a dark brown. I'm following the little arrow on the edge, not the actual paint bucket. That's a little strange. Oh, and I missed the spot. He has side hair, but that's okay. Using the arrow again, let's give him the eyebrow color because his eyebrows shouldn't look like eyes. There we go. Still keep the stroke there. Not too shabby. Let me grab this all again. K for live paint. And this is going to be black where his mouth is. His teeth are going to be white. That looks good. His teeth are very white according to my stroke there, but that's all right. His tongue is going to be red. Doop. And I forgot the ear line too. I'm missing these all left and right. That looks pretty good. Not as good as Victor's, but I'll take it. I'm proud of it. I have all this cool stuff now. You can look. I have everything I really need here. Now I'm going to do the shadows. Now, shadows can be kind of tough, mainly because you got to define your light source. Victor makes it look really easy as he does everything. But what I'm going to do is first I'm going to lock that layer, just like I locked the one behind it. All right? And let's look at the one behind it. Victor did kind of a couple of shadows cast here. There's some behind the face, some on the chin. We'll attempt to do that. Then he did kind of like a highlight up on the hair and whatnot. So what I'm going to do, and look, mine's so much worse than his, but I'm going to go ahead and lock those down, get my pencil tool, just right below the brush, and for my pencil tool, I really don't need any strokes or anything because I'm going to change this, but for now, I'm going to just keep it default, whatever color I'm on, it really doesn't matter to me. And I'm going to follow, first I follow on the stroke itself, because this will hide it a little bit. I use that black stroke as kind of like a guideline. And eventually I'm going to connect them. There we go. I do that. Let's do something like that. Let's go down here. Again, I follow the line a little bit. Do something like that. And then on the ear, I don't even know where my light source is right now. I'm just kind of following along what he did with his drawing. Now, once I have all these, I think he had some on the cheek too. I don't know if I want to do that just yet, so we'll play with that a little bit. I'm going to grab all of these by holding Shift and clicking on these little dots, just the paths. And when I have that, now I can go here and I can go to my swatches and just pick black and kind of take a look at what I have. All right, let's click away. Obviously, we got some work to do. I see some areas here that's going to look really awkward. So I get my A tool, or my gray arrow, and I'm going to just start highlighting certain areas. And if you don't lock your layer, this will be really hard to do, guys. So just be very careful with that. And I'm going to attempt to kind of get those all to fit into place. All right, remember these have no strokes. These are essentially just areas of, basically just areas of fill. They're just shape fills. Alrighty. There we go. Looks good. Alright, I got one more area up here. Oops. And move that up. Move that handle up. Let's see. I got a little itty bitty one over here. There we go. That looks good to me. Alright. Now that I have those, here's the fun part. Select them again. Okay. I have them all selected. I'm going to go to Window Transparency. Right down here. There it is. Click on that. Ends up being these two little circles. I have them all selected, so I'm going to make them a multiply. Now that doesn't do much yet until we turn down to 20 or 30%. Now he used about 25, so I'm going to listen to the guy who knows it right there. And there we go. And that's how you'll get your shadows. Now you can go into here and do the same, if you want that one to be less, like if you think it's not as shadowy over there, you can go ahead and do it. But he mentioned anything under 25% usually won't show up. So just be aware of that. And he means really with printing. There we go. So now we have nice shadows on everything. Now, Highlights can be done the same way. Let's attempt to do a highlight. He didn't do them. I'm taking a wild guess. Let's see. So if we had highlights here, I'm going to just trace over this, and then maybe, I don't even know where my highlight would be with the way these shadows are. Just randomly give him a highlight over here. It's so horrible to say, but let's grab both of those. Let's fill those with a swatch, maybe white. There we go. Get our tools here and adjust accordingly. There we go. And one more over here. I see that little ear messing with me. Hello. There we go. All right. Grab them both. Go to our transparency palette, and then maybe we can set those to screen, and we can turn those down. Let's see what we get. Well, not the exact result. It looks like I'd have to be a little more clear. Maybe overlay will work better. Overlay works great. Awesome. That's what I wanted to do. So overlay will give you highlights. There we go. Make that one 30%. Make that one 30%. And now I can start getting some really, really cool highlights in here. There we go. Pretty awesome, guys. You know where else we need a highlight? On that tongue. Being that I'm a perfectionist, I'm going to go in and add that, even though I'm going to just delete this. And I'm going to just add a little highlight in there. Fill that with white. Transparency. Overlay. Let's see what that gives us. That didn't do much. Even turn down this one, and being that it wasn't on black, let's see. Let's see how we can get this to work. Oh, it's not going to show up. Tricky, tricky. All right, let's do multiply. We'll take it away. Lighten, we'll have it show up. Let's do a lighten. Let's see. Yeah, that one works pretty good. So there you go, guys. You have your very own character now. The funny part about this, by the way, is you can make anything a brush in Photoshop. If I wanted to, I could easily go to my layers. I need to unlock them all right now, but I can unlock them. I can grab all this stuff. I can go to my brushes menu, and I can make this kid's face a brush if I wanted to. So I could just go, make an art brush. There he is. It's going to stretch it, but it's kind of just funny to see. There it is. You can like do dolly masks on it or something like that. Anyway, that I just wanted to see what it would do. Okay, so that's one method we learned. Alrighty, so that's how you guys would take your drawings in. Now I'm going to show you the palm tree method, and let's look at that. Alright, so for the palm tree, he grabbed a rectangle. He made the rectangle, and I use swatches, guys. I'm a swatches kind of guy. Made the rectangle the color of a palm tree. Drew him out. He used his white arrow, his arrow keys to pull it in. And I'm going to make mine super tapered. So you pull those in. Then he added some ornamentation. I'm only going to do 2 of these for time's sake because these videos get rather large in size. And I'm going to get my pen tool and do... Boop, boop. Oops, there we go. Boop. I can get to it here. There we go. Make sure those are closed to get the little dot. And then I'll do the same here. There we go. And grab them both. Make them a little darker. Okay, so that's one. Alright. Not as fancy as his, but it will do the job. I could honestly duplicate these by hitting Alt and then just dragging it up. It does the same thing. So hold down Alt, click and drag. There you go. Alright, so we have our palm tree. Let's make our palm frond. So I'm going to get a green, and I'm going to draw an ellipse. And then I'm going to go to my pen tool and use Convert Anchor Point tool. Click once, click once. Alright, go back to my pen tool, and I'm going to draw some triangles that are going to just work as throwaway objects. There we go. Alrighty, so one more there. Get my Pathfinder out from back here, highlight them, Pathfinder, we'll use divide, and use your white arrow and hit delete. So select in the middle of them. If you don't, you'll get like weird results, and the small one's going to be a pain, so I'm going to wait till last on that. And right there, almost. See, you got to zoom in. Use your zoom. I'm sitting here trying to force this, and I can just click in here really easily and kill it. Cool. There's my palm frond. Alright, now I'm not going to make a lot of varieties like he did. I could sit here and color these and all sorts of fun stuff like he did, but I'm going to keep it default for you guys. Now that I have these, I'm going to go to my brushes menu, and let's make some trees. Alright, get my selection tool, highlight everything, drag and drop. Art brush, okay, cool. Hit delete on that. Grab my palm frond, drag and drop. Art brush, okay, everything looks good. Cool. Grab it, delete. Here we go, guys. Easy as that. Now, the trick is drawing it. If you're drawing one way, so up to down, it could work. But if you draw down to up, it could look really weird. So figure out which way you're going to draw. Mine's up to down. So I can draw the tree, get my palm frond, draw what I need to, and so forth. Now, if I draw really tiny trees, watch what happens. This is something he didn't do. They could look really stubby. Alright? That's okay, but you can see the leaves are not really working. Don't worry about it, though. If you select the stroke, if you lower the stroke, it will go into place. Check that out. So it's really just about the stroke size. So you can have a palm tree any size you want. You can try to play with the profiles. You want to get some consistency? Play with it. It's okay. It's up to you. But this is a really fast way to draw, again, trees. So draw it in parts. Again, it's a matter of how you draw it. So if I drew down to up, it worked out. But if I went up to down, it looked really weird. We want the thin part on the top. So that's important. And that is how you do the coloring. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video on Illustrator. The Photoshop video, I possibly will make some of his demos in Photoshop too, but I'm going to leave that to another video just because it's a tad separate. Again, hope you guys enjoyed it and you use these for your comic book because it'll make life a lot easier.